Here I have cast on 40 stitches on my mid gauge uh, Brother KX 350, and I have put on a cast on rag. You could do just waste yarn, and I'm going to do one row with my ravel cord. And after doing that, I'm going to use my regular yarn. The tension I'm using on, or the cam setting I'm using, is 6.5. The yarn that I'm using is 100% acrylic 4 ply, and it's the Bernat Pop. Comes in a cake, easy to knit. So going to set our counter to 0, 0, 0 and knit 14 rows. One, after doing the 14 rows, remove your weight, and we are going to put the first row stitches back on to make the hem. So I'm going to do that and come back. I have knit the 14 rows, I've hung the hem. I'm going to reset my counter again and going to knit 60 rows. Okay, now that I have knit my 60 rows, it's time for me to sew as you go while I knit the other 60 rows, which will also close my side seams and make a very flat seam. Now, in order to pick up those side stitches, and I'm going to hang them up on the edge, what really helps, especially if you're doing it for the first time, is if you mark the stitches previously, at least the first 4 or 5, because then after that you'll get the hang of which stitch it is. So you'll see a long bar and a short one, and a long bar and a short one. So I hope you can see this clearly. So the long bar is the one that we are going to pick out. So that's a long bar, and then below that is a short one, and that's a long bar again. So for the first one, you're going to pick up this. Then the second one, we're going to pick up on the opposite side, again the long bar. So I'm going to mark the long bars on each side for the first few rows. Okay, so that's a long bar. Then again, if you can see here, that's the tight one, and then that's the next long one. So I'm going to go into the long one. So I've got 3 of them marked there. Let me mark one more, another long one marked here. And then on this side, I'm going to do the same. So that's the long one, which is coming just below the stitch that was last done. Then there's a short one, and then there's a long bar here again, so mark that. Again, going below, that's a long one, that's a short, and that's a long bar. I'm going to go ahead and mark that too. I think that should be enough. You don't need that much. And the very first one, actually, I'm going to hang it right now. So just go from the inside of the fabric, pick up that long bar, and hang it on the very edge stitch, and pull that needle out. It'll just knit easily that way. Now you go on this side. Since you have already marked that long bar, you don't have to think which one it is, because it gets confusing, at least for the first few rows. So I can see which one it is. So I'm just going to I can just pull out that stitch marker. Again, from the inside of the fabric, I'm going to go up and put it on that very last needle, knit one row. Now here you can see that it feels confusing. Is it this bar that you're supposed to pick up, or is it this one? Now that one is already actually knitted through. This was the second long bar, and it's a good thing we put the stitch marker there, because that's going to help us know. So that's the one that I need to pick up. Pull that out. So we are always pulling up a stitch on the opposite side of the cabbage. Now here too, you can see there is one bar which is coming out from, but that's coming out from the very top stitch which was knitted before, and this is the one which was marked by the stitch marker, which is the one which you're actually supposed to pick up. So again, going from the inside of the fabric and pulling it up. Again on this side, inside of the fabric, pulling it up. Now you can see that the fabric is closing in. It's folding up. So let's just do this one too. If you want, you can mark stitch markers on the entire thing, but then that gets too time consuming. So this was a previous one which I attached, so you can even remove that. What you want to do now is actually move your weight towards the back of the fabric so that it is weighted. So I'm going to just take my comb and push it back there, and I'm going to continue in this manner. So here you can even pull out your fabric and kind of see that the last one was, which was the last stitch that was attached, the last long bar that was attached. So see, now if you pull out your fabric, you can see that bar was already attached, so the next long bar is this one. So that's the one that needs to go on. Again on this side, that's the one that was previously attached. This is the next long bar that needs to go up. So I'm going to continue till I reach the very end. Okay, so now I'm towards the end. I'm almost very close to doing my additional 60 rows. Just few more stitches left. I thought I would show you again. That was the last stitch that was attached. Again, I'm going to go for the long bar there, going from inside of the fabric out, inside of the fabric out. You can see that was the last one attached. The next long bar is that one. I'm 118 stitches, so that is perfect. 119. The last long bar is here. 120. So the 60 rows are now attached to the front 60 rows, and we have a full pocket out there. Now I do 14 rows of the hem, hang the hem and bind off, and we are done. So I'm not going to show you that because that's pretty straightforward, but I will show you the finished piece. So this is how they turn out. It's going to come out completely closed on the sides with a very flat seam, even on the inside. So that's where we are picking up the stitches and closing it. The only thing, so this is the hem that was hung up and casted off. This is the only opening. You already have yarn here, which you're going to go ahead and close this and close this end. What you're going to land up with is something like this. It's a complete finished end. You can see the seam is nice and flat on the inside too. This makes with 40 rows 40 stitches casted on at the 6.5 settings. 60 rows on one side, 60 rows on the other side, with 14 rows of a hung hem on each end, makes a 26 centimeter square is what the requirement is for the small joey pouches. So that's a good size, and I can give it a go. Hope this helps.